So during my clinical experience, one of my mentors told me, Adam, you're going to work with a lot of people who have addictions over the course of your work. And I said, yeah. And they said, don't ever, ever, ever be one more person who yells at them for having an addiction, because you will just fail them. He said, if you actually want to help anybody who is wrong, harming themselves, doing an addiction, doing anything, not even just an addiction, but bad behaviors, be curious about them and ask them, be the one person who says, okay, you are addicted to heroin. Everybody else is yelling at them. What are the good things about that? What is leading you to do that? What are you pulling out of that? What need is it satisfying? Okay, these 3 things. Well, that makes sense. How do you feel about these other consequences that come because of it? Oh, you don't like them. Okay. So if you had a method of meeting these 3 needs but didn't have these consequences, would you pursue that? Okay. Well, why don't we find that together? Let's build that together. Here are some changes you could make. And when I started implementing that in my earlier work, I found a tremendous level of success with overcoming addictions that other therapists couldn't quite match, because they'd come in, negative, you're bad, this is why this is bad, don't you realize how bad that is for you, right? So as I leaned forward and using that now with attachment work, hey, look, you are high performing and you are not building sustainable relationships, and you're trying to convince your partner of this, and you're trying to push on them for this, you're avoiding hard conversations. What is good about that for you? How is that working? It's reducing your stress in these pieces, but it's doing this, and it's making stress harder in other areas. Okay, well, what if you could do that in a way that was low stress across the board, but one conversation that you could build together? Would you do that? You would. Fantastic. I can just teach that to you. Let's do it right now.
And I love that, because never underestimate the system's ability to perform its function within the limitations of its own resources. Like, that is something that most people forget. You say, hey, you are addicted to heroin, right? But in your world, that is the best you can be. You are the best at doing this with those constraints. And what you say is, I recognize the fact that you're able to operate in this way. Can I introduce and offer to you an opportunity to accomplish the same thing, but better? And you're playing into its strength. I'm a big proponent of playing into people's strength, of system strength, as opposed to trying to come in with a sledgehammer and destroying the whole thing. It doesn't work like that. People don't like to be wrecked. People like to be improved together. Like, that is a key thing in relationships, that it is something that is improved together. And just as actually a final thought, I want to pitch this to you guys. Relationships are an entity of its own, right? You have 2 people in a relationship, maybe multiple people in a relationship, but the relationship itself is a living, breathing entity, non-physical entity. And you refer to this a lot, Adam, as, your marriage is a business, right? Your marriage is an entity. Your relationship is an entity that lives and breathes on its own, needs to be protected. And one thing that you said, Mark, also that's interesting to me is, hey, your relationship needs not to suffer from you either withholding a truth or offering a truth. So how do you guys both, and I'd love, Mark, to hear you, and then Adam, you, how do you guys both explain and define this mysterious entity that is the relationship, the love, the connection? What is it, and what do we do with it?
I think so many of the stories we've been taught through Disney, I think of the famous line from Jerry Maguire, "You complete me," is this idea that a relationship consumes us, that we are that it is us and our partner are puzzle pieces, they're our soulmate, our twin flame. And I learned a long time ago that I wish I had learned it longer, but I learned that when you feel completed by someone, it means that on some sense there was an incompleteness that leads to you finally get me, you finally, etc. And that's where someone becomes an object of our love. They become an object of our happiness, our well-being. And so if we lose that, we then are incomplete again. And so for my wife and I think about the space between her and I as 2 separate human beings, where we both have passions, values, dreams, all that kind of stuff, that the relationship is a place that says, hey, bring that into the space between us. And then how do we actually curate this space, which I consider very sacred? Like, if we could turn towards that from being a sacred place, then it's like, how do we actually cultivate this space to be a place where both of us come more alive, both of us step more into our potential? If there's friction, one of the rules that my wife and I have is that if something's coming up for one of us, it's coming up for both of us. The other one doesn't see it yet or feel it yet. So it's like a safe place for my wife or me to say, this is coming up for me. I'm not sure it makes sense, but I'm just feeling it. Do you have any sense about this? What I feel like I need from this is whatever it might be. So for me, it's really about, I know we come back to this because I think this is a core tenet of actually just healthy human relating, which is that we honor the truth above everything. That's it. It's like, I miss you. I feel like you're taking me for granted. I feel like my needs aren't being met. I mean, like whatever a truth is gets brought forward, because how do we meet that within the relationship? And that for me has been so liberating in so many ways.
If you like this clip, I know you're going to enjoy the full episode. You can watch it right here.